to Southport's little gem. Hidden behind an office block on Horton Street, only 2 minutes walk from Southport Station, is a 410-seat theatre. The Little Theatre, home of the Southport Dramatic Club, SDC. Come on, let me show you round. In 1936, the members of this club persuaded the directors of the Liverpool Victoria Friendly Society, and I have no idea how they did this, to build behind their office block, instead of the garage which they could well have used, a theatre for the SDC to rent for the next 50 years at a very low rent. And so we have this absolute gem, and it's my privilege to show you round it today. The box office used to be a little cubbyhole just off to my right, but in one of our recent refurbishments we took the opportunity to build this warm, open box office where you can simply come and pick up your tickets. But if you prefer to book online, by all means do so, print your own tickets, and as you come through the door you'll still get a warm and friendly smile from the box office staff, as long as you catch them on a good day. Right, now you've got your tickets from the box office, let's go upstairs to the theatre, or if you prefer, you could always take the lift and I'll meet you at the top. And at the top of the stairs we find two of the most necessary rooms in the building. The lift, of course, and the founder members board, including Bob Martin of Dog Pills fame and James Bond. Yep, James Bond. Have a look, he's there. Main doors to the auditorium, but we're saving that treat for later. And here we've got the chairman of the club, all the way up to 2019-2020, Roger Fieldhouse. Whenever we refurbish this building, we've always tried to stick to the original 1930s Art Deco style. From the lights to the original chairs, all the tables too are the originals. The only slightly modern note is the large television screen on the wall, of course, but we use that to publicise not only our own productions, but also those of all the other local societies who regard our building as their home. On the 1st of January 1988, there was an arson attack on this building. Someone set a fire in the wardrobe room under the stage manager's desk, and unfortunately for us, there was a gas main in there. So we had in effect a big blowtorch burning for several hours. It went through the stage floor, took out the stage manager's desk, through the scenery, up the ropes into the flies, and then nearly everything that was in the grid came down. The house curtain being apparently one of the very last things to come down, and that's why the rest of the building was only smoke damaged. But we had a huge fire burning for many hours, and it was only when the fire came through the roof of this 5-storey building did a member of the public spot it and call the fire brigade, who did an excellent job and got the fire under control and out in a very short time. I happened to be chairman of the club that year, and I remember standing outside the back watching the flames coming through the roof, thinking, how on earth are we ever going to get this place open again? However, the following morning we met and we formed the Phoenix Committee to oversee the refurbishment, but also to keep the club going. The bar was open that Friday night, and we decided that we would use this space for performance. And in fact, we put on 6 productions here. This was the stage, and there we built a raked auditorium. Fortunately for us, a member of the club, Ray Jeffs, was a commercial farmer and happened to have a rather large number of pallets lying around. We seated here about 140 people. We did 6 productions for 2 weeks each, and I remember being in 2 of them. There was Accrington Pals and same time next year. And during Accrington Pals, I remember being backstage while the show was on, and we used the back of the auditorium as our dressing rooms, props, wardrobe and so on. And I went through there into the actual auditorium, standing on a bare floor, no carpet, no chairs, looking at the stage with the rain pouring through the roof onto the stage, running down the stage and cascading into the orchestra pit. And again, I thought, how on earth is this ever going to come right? That September, we reopened a magnificently refurbished building. I'm standing on the carpet that was specially woven for the building at that time. And now, 30 years later, it's still in good condition. That Christmas, we did Peter Pan. Now, I don't need to give you time to finish your tea, because you can put me on pause if you want to. But now, I'm going to take you somewhere, not backstage, but behind the scenes. We call this the club room. It's used for committee meetings, auditions, and rehearsals. It's one of our largest rehearsal spaces, although we have lost some of the room when we install the lift, which of course does give us disabled access to the top floor of the building. Here we have the library, and over here we used to have the bar, but now we've got a much more modern bar downstairs, which I'll be showing you shortly. But now let me introduce you to someone. Elsie Livesley, London Royal Academy of Music, founder of the Southport Dramatic Club, 1920. Yes, this is our centenary year. And what a year in which to have a centenary. So we're going to extend the celebrations into next year. But in the meantime, thank heavens for Zoom. Now, from the club room, I'm going to take you somewhere that many of our members have never been. They're called actors. The control room. We're now on the second floor of the building in the lighting department, and you're just seeing the gels there. On the far wall is all the cabling for the sound department, but as we continue to pan round back into lighting's part of the room, I've got a couple of interesting things to show you. The first is a lamp dating back to the very origins of this building, and here is its modern LED equivalent. Far more powerful, far more adaptable. Then we come to the lighting board. Now ordinarily there would be a highly trained and enthusiastic member of the lighting team sitting here, desperate to show you his toy. But these are not ordinary times, and so I've had to ask the lighting department to prepare a little crib sheet for me, so forgive me if I read to you for a little. The lighting desk is a 088 Solution XL. It can control up to 296 individual light fixtures and a range of intelligent lights. It has the ability to record several hundred lighting states, and these can be replayed night after night. An average play will need from 40 to 80 lighting states, whereas a musical, it can be in the region of 200 to 300. We also operate PowerPoint and keynote presentations from here, along with video to enhance some of our plays. It says here. Now, through the window behind me, the lighting operator has a perfect view of the whole stage over the heads of the audience. So, now for the sound department. Follow me down Alice's rabbit hole. Here we are on the sound bridge, which, as its name implies, is a bridge above one of the main entrances to the auditorium. And here the sound operator sits, importantly, hearing exactly what the audience hears, because he has a perfect view out over the heads of the audience onto the whole of the stage. There is, though, just one drawback. The stage manager is in the far right-hand corner of your picture at the other end of the building, and we need to be in constant communication. So, That we solve by the wearing of headsets. Sound, lights and stage manager all wear headsets and are in constant communication. Now, of course, ordinarily, there would be yet another highly trained operative sitting here, filling this auditorium with thunder, lightning, crashing aeroplanes, volcanic eruptions, you name it, they love making noise. However, we can't do that. So, once more, I'm going to read to you, very briefly. The heart of the sound system is an Allen and Heath QU series 32-channel digital console, which feeds 4 high-power stereo amplifier and speaker systems. This allows sound to be placed anywhere in the theatre, from backstage to the rear of the auditorium. 6 microphones are installed above the stage to capture dialogue when required, and up to 22 radio microphones can be used for musicals and pantomime. It's a well-known fact in theatre that the lighting department gets everywhere. So, follow me. To a follow spot. These extremely powerful lights are also very, very adjustable. You can focus them tight on a face or open out onto the body. You can change colour, and of course, most importantly, you can follow the actors around on stage. And panto is peak time for that well-known actor's sport, Fox the follow spot operator. There are 3 entrances across the back of the auditorium. And as you come in either side, the first thing you will see are wheelchair spaces, 1 each side. When we changed all the seating in the auditorium some 10 or 15 years ago, we took the opportunity to increase the number of seats from 398 to 410 by removing a crossover passage at the back. And also at that time, we added the 2 wheelchair spaces. Above the centre door of the auditorium is the sound bridge, which we just visited. One other thing I'd like to mention. I was rather hoping that while Michelle and I were in here filming this, we'd come across the theatre ghost, Claude. As you know, every theatre has to have a ghost. It's in the lease or something. But he's not shown up so far. But I have had his help in the past. About 30 years ago, Pete and I were installing a new telephone system. And I asked him to pass me a screwdriver. I was under stage. And I heard Pete walk across the stage, and a moment later, the right screwdriver came down through the hole in the stage floor. Then a second later, Pete walked in the door of the room I was in. He hadn't passed me the screwdriver. Thanks, Claude. By the way, we do have an orchestra pit. The apron on the front of the stage, the top is removable, and this is where we put the musicians to keep them in order. So, the curtain goes up on a rather unusual set because you find us at maintenance time. So, come up on stage and I'll show you around. Now I'm in the curtain operator's position because we are fortunate enough to have a full-size fly tower, which means that we can fly the curtain right out. And in again. Now I'm sitting at the stage manager's desk, known to one and all as the SM desk. Our stage manager is usually the first person in and signs in to the register, as does everybody else, cast and crew, because it's quite embarrassing to start a show with one missing. I've got my headset so I can speak to sound and lights. I also have a backup telephone which would allow me to speak both to sound and lights, but also I can speak to the house manager and of course get that important call, the audience are all in, you can go. Now I've called the audience in by using this system, the audience call. Kindly take your seats, ladies and gentlemen. This evening's performance will begin in 3 minutes. I have a television to allow me to see the whole stage, because there could be scenery in the way, or an actor, they do tend to congregate around the SM desk. Here, another television. This shows me the front door, because if we're rehearsing, I can then let in someone who's coming in for a rehearsal. To give cues during the show, without any sound at all, standby musical director. Go music. And I can also cue from here the fly rail, which I'll be showing you shortly. Beside the telephone, I've got a row of red and green lights. Reds must not be on during the show. Greens are okay. So if I leave a red one on, lighting will not be happy with me for spoiling their beautiful design. So now, let's talk about some of this dangly stuff. This is an aluminium bar which is hung from 3 ropes, all of which are controlled on the other side. So there's a short, then the middle, and then this one you can see close to me is the long. Here we have what we call a leg. It's a piece of cloth. This one happens to be black, can be any colour, and it goes on stage 6 or 8 feet. 14 feet high, so it masks the side of the stage to some extent. Here, a border. Same material, but this one runs the full width of the stage. And when it's up, it will hide the lighting bar here from the view of the audience. And all of this is controlled from the fly rail. From up on the fly rail, you're getting a view that very, very few people get, even very few members of this club. And certainly if you're on an ordinary tour, we wouldn't be bringing you up here. On the right-hand side of your screen, as you look down, you can see the front of the stage and then the front row of seats. And that gives you some idea of how high we are. It's 2 long flights of ladders, or probably at least 3 stories in terms of ordinary floors. We're looking down through the forest of ropes from which the bars are hanging, and the bars, of course, are what we use to fly things in and out. On the left-hand side of your screen, you can see the silver swag that we saw hanging when we were on the stage. And just coming into view now in the distance is a pile of folded cloth. Those are very special because they are painted cloth. They are the full height and full width of the stage, and we hang them from the bars, and they can be flown fully out of the view of the whole of the audience from this position, which is a fantastic facility to have at pantomime time. There is poor old Cinders in the kitchen, sad and unhappy, and suddenly the back wall flies out and reveals the coach. We can do that from here. One person from here can make that transformation. And that is a wonderful facility to have. Many professional theatres in the country would envy what we have. So for an amateur little theatre, we are very, very proud of, well, of the whole building, but this bit in particular is very special. A Hemp set. 3 lines, short, middle, long. Tied through pulleys, through the grid that carries all this weight down to the bars. And so if I want to fly the bar out, grab the 3 together, and hemp splinters really do sting, and then lean back a bit and pull. If I want to tie off, under, over, under, back on itself, over the top, and there we are. And now you know why many fly rails were crewed by sailors. This is old sailing ship technology, and it still works. As well as the hemp sets and the counterweights, we have 4 very strong winches, which are rated at 500 kilos to take the enormous weight of lighting which can be required. they're hard to move as well. Quick demonstration of a counterweight. Break off and pull. It's a little bit heavy, slightly weighted so that if things were to go wrong and the brake failed, then it'd come up, not down. And here is the cradle arriving. Now, if I were waiting for something that was going on here, by waiting I mean adding weight, judging the weight, I'd be picking weights up from here, which as you can see are quite heavy, and adding them to the cradle. However, as this one is fortunately perfectly balanced, I'll let it go down, and as it does, you can look up and see the pulley through which it's running. And the bang at the end is the flyman getting it wrong. You have to stop it just before it hits the top, or the weight at the bottom bangs and the people on stage get very annoyed. Well, now it's the interval. I'm off downstairs for a cup of tea because it gets very hot up here. You coming? As I come down from the fly rail, I've just gone past what used to be the top dressing room. Here is one of the on-stage dressing rooms. There used to be a wooden staircase here leading up to that top dressing room, but the fire officer, probably quite sensibly, decided that a wooden staircase here wasn't a very good idea, and we were left with no staircase. Fortunately, at the time, a member of this club was a member of Heinz Factory, and they were throwing out a lot of steel ladders. So he cut one to fit, and here I am coming down it. Lovely Keith Humphreys, who used to take a look at things and say, this needs a bit of loose it off, or I can fix that with some bung it up. Oh, and the best bit of DIY advice I ever got. This needs 2 good thick coats of looking at first. As I said, cup of tea, green room. Every theatre has a green room. We've even painted ours green so that we know where we are. It's where the cast and crew meet before and during the show, not afterwards. That'll be in the bar, which I promise I will show you later. Our handyman always makes sure that we've got some photographs in here of past productions that are relevant to the current one. And as we're about to do a youth theatre production when we had to close, we've got some past youth production photographs up here. Railway Children behind me and Chicago over there. Now, come and have a look at one of our dressing rooms. As theatre dressing rooms go, I think ours are pretty good. We've got very good lighting, lots of mirrors, the very important shelf for your good luck cards, a nice work surface for your wig, your makeup, comfortable seats, a couple of wash basins, and on the wall facing me is the round stage relay, so I can hear what's going up on stage, and I have no excuse for making that last minute dash up, oh heck, I've forgotten my lines. But one thing you don't normally see in a dressing room is a grave trap. That is a 6-foot-by-3 trap door leading onto the stage. And yes, we do use it. In Hobson's Choice, this was William Ossop's cellar. Trap flies open, up he comes, great entrance. Now we're across the road from the back of the little theatre in what everybody calls Bob's workshop. It is in fact the theatre's workshop, but Bob is employed by us to paint all of our sets, in addition to which he does his own work in this workshop. So come in and let's have a look. Some of you may do some artwork at home using easels, but we do things here on a rather larger scale. Above my head is what we call the paint frame. It's Bob's equivalent of an easel. It's the full height and full width of the stage, and it allows him to paint a cloth in one go. And I must say that some of his cloths are really, really beautiful. His perspectives, his details, and his imagination are really superb. At the front here, we've got some 10-foot flats, but our standard flat height is actually 14 feet to go with our stage. And there are also different widths from 1 foot to 6. We don't just need solid walls, of course. We need doors and windows. So here is what we call a 4-foot door, 4 feet wide by 14 feet high. And into this opening we will pop a standard door complete with architraves. And we do the same for windows, of course. A quick stop off at our properties store, or props as we call it. From cricket pads to crutches, from gas masks to grapes. If you need one on stage, we've probably got it in here. If only you can find it. And now we're in another separate building, but there's no prizes for guessing what this one holds. We're in the wardrobe department, with everything from flapper dresses to fur coats, from kimonos to kid gloves. We have a huge stock of costume, going back many decades, and most of it very kindly donated by members and their friends. Over the years, many young people have built on the experience they gained here to move on into the profession, whether as the talent, the techie, or the director. And so we thought it might be a nice idea to have a Hall of Fame. And so here we have a selection of photographs. We have many more, and they are changed from time to time, but they give you some idea of the variety of the talent we have spawned. Guy Unsworth, International Theatre Director and ex-Royal Shakespeare Company. Jonathan Gosling, Company Stage Manager. Sally Banks, Film, Television and ex-Royal Shakespeare Company. Andrew Lancel, The Bill, Coronation Street. And at the moment, he should be Baron von Trapp at the London Palladium in The Sound of Music. And we are very pleased that these people keep in touch with us, whether to come to the bar and see their friends on a Friday night, or to do seminars, talks, and at the moment, of course, Zoom talks. Welcome to the Little Theatre car park. At least, that's what it was when I joined here almost 50 years ago. But now, as you can see, it's a beautifully equipped bar. We first opened down here in 1980, and it has been substantially refurbished since then. But it's not just a social space, it's also a performance space. Once a year we put a platform in the middle, raised about a foot, and we can seat 100 people around as we give what we imaginatively call our bar production. And as an actor, director and stage manager, I can tell you from experience that this is a really different and entertaining space in which to work. Imagine doing Equus as we, and I, did here about 30 years ago. It's so warm, it's so involving, so direct and frightening. But it's such fun. And then, at the end of the evening, it turns back into being a bar. What could be better?